Hello again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and for being a part of our working through these bylaws. We certainly need your input and appreciate the time and effort that you've devoted into looking at these videos and reading the bylaws and attending the meetings that we have coming up. To give you those meetings again, on Sunday, October the 10th, at our Family Fun Feast, we will go over these in detail and answer any questions that you have. It's going to be basically a reiteration of what we're doing now. So we're hoping to facilitate, some speed in that discussion because we've doing all this now. That's why it's important that you listen as you can, as your schedule allows, and make the comments. There can even be cross discussion in those comments. So please join in and help us with that. And then we will have a specially called business meeting as part of our Thanksgiving feast on November 28th. I'm looking at the date there. And hopefully by that time, we'll have everything all ironed out, and all we'll need to do is basically have a yay or nay on this. So that's the plan. Thank you for being a part of it. So we left off, or we're ready to start, I guess, with Article 9, Deacons. Let's see if I can pull this up here for you to see. There we go. So there's the actual article in yourself. I encourage you to follow along in your written copy and maybe make notes on it that you want to make comments about. We've had some little discussion upon this, and so what we have suggested here is that the church not be bound to having deacons. Deacons is rather an obscure office. It's mentioned in Scripture, certainly, and we have the reference later here in this article in 1 Timothy. The word itself means servant, and it's used as a form of servants, and it's basically people who serve. And we have lots of people in our congregation who serve. And as you read down through the list of things that deacons do, you find out that many in the church do that sort of thing. Taking care of the property, helping with the services. We have people without offices that do that. We have elders that do that, and others that have come in, people that clean. I myself, I've cleaned the restroom. So am I a deacon? Am I a servant? So what we've got over the years because of church tradition is we've developed an office, and it's taken on a definition of its own that's basically kind of in some sort of ad hoc manner pulled out of Scripture, but there really isn't any clear delineation of this. I think it's an error to create an office for the sake of creating an office. We have all sorts of examples in modern church life, and probably even in historic church life, where we have created positions and offices in order to placate people or in order to lock people into our particular congregation, assimilate them so they feel a part. And certainly the office of deacon, it's scriptural. It's not something that's frivolous, but it's not very well defined in Scripture. And what we're doing here in the definition in Article 9 is basically the historic Christian definition of it, and you'll see that it's, you'll have a difficult time justifying all of that from Scripture. So we want to have the liberty in the future, if we feel that there are certain things that need to be done and processes that need to take place, ministries that maybe are going on that have to do with physical needs of people or et cetera, and we need to have deacons, that yes, we should have them, and we have the authority to appoint them. Pastor has authority to appoint them. The congregation can ratify them, and they will serve for a year. And we want to be able to do that. What we don't want is to be locked down to say we must have deacons. And so that's the reason the wording has changed. The rest of the wording is just basically to clarify the process, and you'll see that that last sentence deals with what happens if somebody starts being a deacon in the middle of our year, which runs through June from July through June. What happens if someone, well, if that's the case, then they will serve until our next regularly scheduled annual business meeting, and then they'll have the opportunity to say, I don't want to serve anymore, or they will be reappointed or re-ratified. In section 3 under requirements, you'll see that we have added the words mature believer and taken out spirit-filled, and we've talked about that in an earlier session here. I won't take the time to read the passage about what the deacons do. You can read that. We just cleaned the language up there a little bit so it made a little bit more sense. In Article 10, on ahead here, all we did, is that 10? Nope. I didn't even put 10 in here. I don't have 10. So you can't see it. Article 10, all we did was clean up the language as far as the name of the of our region in the EFCA. Article 11 has to do with meetings. Let me pull that up here, big screen, so you can see it. It's section 3. Special business meetings of the legal members may be called by the pastor, the board of directors, or by a 2/3 vote of the legal membership, and that is stricken. And it says, or by petition containing signatures of 2/3 of the legal membership. Well, that's an interesting concept. As I read that and wondered to myself, okay, if I'm a member and we want to have an annual meeting, how do we do it? So we have a vote. Well, how do you have a vote if you can't have a meeting? And you can't have a meeting unless you can vote. So you have to have 2/3 vote to have the meeting, but you can't have the meeting. And I don't know if that was an oversight in the way the whole thing was worded, or if it was purposefully done in order to keep the members from having an opportunity to call a meeting. So what we've done basically here is just say if the members decide they want to have a meeting and 2/3 of them who are active legal voting members sign a petition, then there will be a meeting. Article 12 deals with departments and committees. I'm not going to worry too much about that right now. I don't think there's nothing in there. Article 13 has to deal with property. There's no changes selected there. Article 14, I don't know if I have an Article 14, if I saved it. I went through and deleted some of these that didn't have anything. Let's see what we have here. What's this one? Article 13 is property. Article 14, amendment. Very good. All right. So you'll notice on here there's nothing to be changed. I just want to draw your attention to the fact that we have to have 2/3 of the voting membership at the meeting in order to change this, and at least 2/3. So it doesn't say what the quorum is, but obviously it has to be at least 2/3 of the members. Otherwise they can't vote to make the changes. So we have to have at least 2/3, and if we only have 2/3, then everybody has to vote in the affirmative. So it's important that you mark that on, and if that's I'll just say this, if that's a holiday time, I know it's the Sunday after Thanksgiving, if enough people are going to be traveling, we will reschedule it. It's just important that we have enough people there to do it. Please help us by communicating along that line. If you know you're not going to be there, and you have a family and there are 5 of you and you're all legal members, and now all of a sudden where our numbers are being jeopardized. If enough of that happens, we'll reschedule it so that we can have enough people present to actually do business. Article 13. No, I'm past 30. Article 14 is amendment. Article 15 is affiliation. So let me just take a couple minutes on a couple things here as we close this out, and this will be our last session in dealing with this. So there were some questions about what the benefits are of EFCA, and they are listed here in Article 14. And it talks about a mutual relationship, and it talks about us looking to or leaning on the EFCA as a source for pulpit resources, for staff resources, for missions connections, for doctrinal stability, for university and seminary opportunities, and any other issue beyond the normal scope of the local church. So we're right now going to be looking to them for some help or for resources so that we can help with emergency needs in Haiti and maybe even in Louisiana because of the hurricane. So that's something that a larger group can help with. And we don't want to be isolated, and we don't want to be alone. And if we did not have this formal relationship, we would most certainly have to have some sort of informal relationship, which does for us the same thing. Now, I want to close by taking you back to Article 3, which has to do with this. And Article 3, and if you'll turn back to that, let's see, I don't know if let me see if I've got it. We've got lots of, is that it? Oh, look at that. Article 3, a nonprofit corporation. All right. So in the state of Indiana, not-for-profit corporations can pay salaries and do other things that corporations can do. But you cannot dissolve the corporation and have the assets of the corporation inure to any persons. So we can't sell the property and equipment and everything and divide the money up among the board of directors and then dissolve the corporation. That's illegal. So when or if for some reason Lakeview Community Church decided to dissolve as a corporation, those assets have to go to another not-for-profit corporation, or the Secretary of State claims them, and they go into the state coffers, so to speak. And nobody wants that. So you'll notice in Article 3 that if for any reason the church is dissolved, that's what the second paragraph says, in case of dissolution of the church organization, the assets shall be assigned to the Great Lakes District Conference of the Evangelical Free Church. So that's why that's there. And that's not part of our changes. We're not doing any changes, but that's just there to protect what you give. So when you give on Sunday, you're devoting your finances, the time of your life that you spend on those finances, to the work of the Lord. That's not going to go into someone's pocket. The board, the church can vote on salaries. You can hire people. That's all going to be done as a group. But that group, that leading group, that group that has the authority to sign papers, can't get together and divide those stuff up. And if the church dissolves, then those assets go to another not-for-profit corporation, and the denomination could come in. They could maybe put some money in, revive it, or maybe take those assets and give it to places where it's needed. So that is Article 3, and that takes us all the way through. Now, if there are things that we missed, and I've tried to go over this and tried to keep, this is going to be one of the long ones, I'm very sorry for that, but try to keep these brief and to the point. If we've missed something, please let me know. We'll go back and we'll address it again. But we wanted to cover the major areas so that when we met in October and went over these, we would have covered all the major points. Maybe we created more questions, and that's good. We want everybody to know what these bylaws say so that we can work together, so we can work effectively, so that we can work efficiently, and so everybody knows what the rules are. So I appreciate so much the time that you've put into this and your effort. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for all that you do. Put your comments and your questions below, and don't feel bashful about commenting on someone else's comment. I mean, there could be cross communication going on here where we're discussing things together. So at any rate, God bless. Thank you so much for all you do. Bye-bye.